Hey, hi everyone. This is Sai from LetsUpgrade. So let's talk about how to get your certificate. It's very simple. You will see two links in the description. Number one is the place where you have to go and mark your attendance. Marking your attendance tells us like, okay, you are a legit student who have attended this particular session. Link number two is your assignment. This is where your 90% of the priority is. You have to go and submit the assignment that is given to you in this particular session. Once you're done submitting that assignment, we will be evaluating that. We will send you an email. If you get the passing criteria, then only we will give you the certificate on a particular date that is mentioned again in the description. Please check these three things, and this is the way how you will get a certificate from Let's Upgrade. Number one, mark your attendance. Number two, just go ahead and upload your assignment. Check for the email that you have received it, yes or no. What is the feedback that you have received from your trainer? Number three, check on which date the certificates will be released. Thank you. Bye. All the best. Happy learning.
Hello everyone, I welcome you to this C++ bootcamp. So today is day 1 of this bootcamp and we are going to start with introduction to C++, right? So let us take this step by step. First of all, let us understand what is C++ and how can we get started. Okay, sure. So let us see what is C++, which is often also called as C++ by this sign. So you can call it CPP, C++. It's one of the same thing. Now, the first question that comes up here is what is C++ and kind of why it is important, and because we need to understand the basics. So I would say that C++ is a powerful, fast, object-oriented powerful language, right? Now, what do I mean by powerful? Powerful in the sense that it can help us build games, right? We can build browsers, right? It can help us build games, browsers, even operating systems, right? OS, which is Windows, Linux, and all of these stuffs. So it can literally help us create those. So that is why we say that it is a very powerful language. It is object oriented. That means it follows the concept of OOPS. Now we are going to see what OOPS is in later section of this course, but for now we just know that it is a very powerful, used to build um, things like games, browsers, operating systems, and as well it is also an object oriented language, right? So we can say that it is fast. And why do I say it is fast? Because of all these things. Secondly, I'd say it is an object oriented programming language, right? It simply means that it follows the concept of OOPS. Okay, as simple as that. Now just a backtrack or just a history I would like to give you that we also have a language which is called as C, purely C, no C++ is there, right? Now C++, it is a combination of both C and C++. In short, it combines this because C, if I solely talk about C as a language, it only has one cool feature, and which is its speed. It is very fast, right? So C++ inherits all the properties of C, plus it also adds object-oriented nature to it. So in short, you can say that C++ is a combination of C, plus it has some add-on features, and that add-on feature is its object-oriented programming language, right? So I hope this is clear to you. What is C++, right? A powerful, a very fast and an object oriented programming language. It can help build us games, browsers, operating systems, and whatnot. And it combines the features of the already existing C language, plus it tops up an object oriented programming language nature to it as well. So this is what C plus plus is, right? Now, talking about one more interesting thing, right, which is a compiler. right? Versus an IDE. Now you must have very frequently heard of this word called as a compiler. Many people say IDE, and I'm sure we often mix the differences between a compiler and an IDE. So I'll talk about it one by one. So talking about compiler, a compiler, it is nothing but it is just used to convert your C++ code into machine code. And you have to understand one thing: your machine, right, which is your laptops or your desktops or maybe your iPad, it only can read machine language code. That means, so what I just said is your machine can only read, or I would say your computers slash laptops, just for easier representation, can only read machine level code. That means in the form of zeros and ones, right? As simple as that. So that is, if you, yeah, okay, so that is like if you write some code. Let's suppose I write I write a short snippet of C++. I say hello world, right? I am writing it in English, right? Hello is an English word, world is an English word, but do you think my machine can understand English? It cannot. So that is the only reason we have compilers. Your compilers convert your C++ code into a machine code which your computer can understand, right? Because machine doesn't know English. Just like just like personally, if talking about myself, I don't know let's suppose any language for that matter. Let's suppose I don't know a Kannada, right? So if you talk to me in Kannada language, I'll not be able to understand. So I need someone who can translate it for me. So that is the exact role of compiler. We write code in English, computer cannot understand English, so it helps us transform our code into a machine level code which the computer can eventually understand. As simple as that. So this was all about compiler, right? So for compiler, I'll write this. Now, if we talk about IDE, now IDE, first of all, it stands for Integrated Development Environment. I'll also write it as well. Integrated Development Environment. Now, it is nothing but it is just a software that helps you write, debug, and run code, right? So this you can call it as a software. So I'll say software that helps you run, I would say debug, or you know what, I'll say write, debug, and run code, right? For example, we have many online compilers. So maybe the program is compiler. I'll show you what that is, right? We have VS Code. You must have heard of VS Code, right? We have code blocks, which also helps us create an integrated development environment, right? So two things that we have talked about here is compiler and an IDE, and understanding the difference between the two, right? So a compiler, it can only it is used to convert your C++ code into your machine code, whereas an IDE, it is a software that helps you run, write, and debug your code. As simple as that. Examples being program is VS Code, coding blocks. We have Replit C++, right? We have tons of online platforms which you have, which play a role of uh, your IDE, right? So this is what it is. Okay, so now we know the basics of C++, a compiler, and a difference between basically an IDE and a compiler. Now, Let us start to write code. Let us see how it looks like, and let us see the anatomy of a C++ program. So for this, I will be heading towards any online compiler. So I prefer ProblemSolving. So I mean, you can use your own you can use a compiler of your own choice. That is not an issue. So, or even if I see, if I write C++ compiler online, I will be prompted with a lot of options. So it is up to you, whichever you want to try you can. So let's suppose this is a very good one with which is called as ProblemSolving. I'll click on this, and this is what you will see. Right, so this will have uh, it has a short boilerplate to it. This is what we call it as the introductory files that can help you get started with the program. Now I'll show you what we'll see what that each of the line means. Right. So first we have iOS include iOS stream. Right. Now this is a basic file which helps you which includes the input and output. So see this, you see here it is cout, right? So this is again it is a library which has already been coded, so with using which you can directly print your program. So but if you don't use iOS stream, your compiler will not know what cout is. So it is necessary to see this, to include this file, right? So I can just maybe write it includes input and output functions, input and output functions, or you can say library. Okay. Now apart from this, you see this as a int main, right? And this is a main function, or you can call this as an entry point for your code. So entry point, right? So that means that your code starts from line number 4. Now these, if you want to include any libraries, any external libraries, you add it on top of int main. But if you want to get started with the code, you write it after this int main, right? Now this you see here, std, right? Std is nothing but it is kind of used to display your program. It helps you display the program using cout in the screen. But there is a catch to it. If you use a library called as using name space std, if you use using namespace std, we can just write cout directly, so we don't need to include this as well. We just write cout and it will be good to go. Okay. Now maybe instead of this I will write hello world, right? Hello world, and return 0. So it basically means the end of the program, right? However, if you see this return 0, it is optional. Why it is optional? Because if you don't write return 0, your program directly assumes that it is there and it executes the program without itself. So this is optional. If you don't write it, your program will work, but it is a nice gesture to add it at the end of the program so that it remains the habit, right? So if I click on run now, it will take a couple of seconds, and see we have some mistake. So this is also a very important point. If you write your program and you encounter some issues or some errors, those would be visible in the output screen. So for example, this says that using namespace, right? It says expected nested name specifier before namespace. It means that it does not understand what namespace is. So that is because the spellings are wrong. So I'll correct the spelling. I'll correct the spellings. I'll write name space namespace std, right? So once this is done, that means it is correct. I will again run it. I will again look for some errors. If there are no errors, my code will run. Okay. And as you can see, it says code execution successful, and I get the output in my screen as hello world. Now this means that my output has run successfully, there are no errors, and it is good to go, right? So Again, reiterating, iOS include iOS stream. It is a library for input outputs. Only because of this you're able to use cout, right? It is a library that helps you execute your output in the screen. Apart from this, we have using namespace std. If you use namespace std, you can directly use cout and cin without the need of std. So let's suppose if you don't write this, you have to mention something called as std as well to display it onto the screen. But if you write namespace std, you can write it directly. This is the entry point. It means that at this point your program will start to run, right? Apart from this, we have these two curly brackets. That means these are, I would say, a block of code boundaries. That means this brackets will contain your code. It is kind of a bracket which binds together your code, so that it acts like a whole piece to it, right? If you want to, we'll come to that later on, right? We'll discuss it much more in depth when we cover if else blocks. But for now, you can imagine it just a pair of block which contains your code, right? And very important, at the end of each line or at the end of each statement, you have to write a semicolon, right? Which is this sign. If I show you, yeah, semicolon, right? I'll just write it as well. Please note, each line in your CPP code should end with semicolon, which is nothing but this. So make sure to add it. If you don't add it, let's suppose I don't add it here, right? And I try to run the code, my code will not run, right? It will say an error. It says it expected a colon before this. So it also says that it is expecting a colon, so please place a colon here. So if I now place a colon and now I run it, it will be ready to run. So this is how it is. This is something we can call it as a main anatomy of a C++ program, what all it contains, what is the main boilerplate, and we write all the code inside this. So moving forward, we'll be writing all the code which is the C++ code inside these main blocks. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so now we have talked about variables. Okay, now let's move our discussion one step ahead. Now let's talk about arithmetic operators, and let's talk about what they are, and what they do. Okay, so talking about arithmetic operators, right? Um, oops, yeah, this is good. Okay, now what are arithmetic operators? So arithmetic operators include mathematical operations like, I would say, addition. We have got subtraction, division, subtraction, we've got division, we have got multiplication, right? multiplication, right? We have also got the model operator, which is what we call as a remainder, right? So this is a list of I would say the mathematical operations that we have in C++, which we can obviously make a sense out of it once we code, but this is what we have it, right? Okay, so in C++, if you want to perform some mathematical operations, like you want to add sum of two numbers, we want to subtract sum of two numbers, you want to multiply two numbers, divide two numbers, find the remainder between two numbers or more, basically, you already have these operations, these arithmetic operations, and these are pretty easy and pretty simple to use. For example, let's suppose I come to my variable, come to my program. Maybe I will comment this, and I will declare two more variables. I'll say int a, maybe I can say 10. Int b, maybe I can say 2, or let's suppose 3, right? Okay, so first of all, talking about addition. If you want to add two numbers, what you can do is you can simply do cout, which is print a plus b, or to make it much more better, we can say, first of all, you can cout this addition, right? And you can cout a plus b, right? So if you come up here, if you try to run the code, a is 10 and basically b is 3. If you want to add the sum of these numbers, which is 10 plus 3, you get 13 in the addition, right? Simply just use a plus operator and it will add the sum for you. Similarly, we have subtraction. If you want to subtract, right, you can do something like, now if you do a minus b, the result will be negative, because okay, the result will be in positive, because 10 minus 3 is plus 7. If you do 3 minus 10, which is if you do b minus a, it will be negative 7, right? So it works similarly like this way. So if I do a plus or a minus b, and most importantly, I'll have to do an end L here, and here as well I will do an end L, because I want to move the code to the next line. Okay, and in this, maybe I'll also uh, print the multiplication, which is nothing but a into b and end L. Now remember, for multiplication you don't use a cross, you don't use an x sign, you use this asterisk, because cross in C, if you do this cross, it will mean x, it is a it is a character. But if you want to use multiplication, you do asterisk, which is a into b. Apart from that, we have cout division, division. So division is something like a by b, and I will give end L. And lastly, we can think of something as a remainder. Um, yeah, so remainders means that if you multiply, if you divide a by b, what will be the remainder, right? So for remainder, you have this modulo sign, that is a percentage sign. So if you do a percent b, this will divide the numbers, and whatever remainder we have, it will give us the remainder. So something like this. Okay, so now let's run the code. Let's see if there are any errors. If there are any errors, obviously we'll try to rectify those. If there are not, it will be good to go. And lastly, I can do return 0. As I told you, it is kind of an optional thing, but if it would be great if you always include that at the end of your program. Okay, so now I will run this. Okay, so I think I was missing these. Yeah, I'll add these as well. Now I will run it. So here it is. So okay, addition, which is a plus b. Yeah, 10 plus 3 is 13, 10 minus 3 is 7, 10 into 3 is 30, 10 by 3 is 3. So basically it gives you just the whole part, not any remainder. And if you divide 10 by 3, so if you kind of do something like 10 by 3, so 3 times 3 is 9, right? And I will get 1 as the remainder. So this remainder here is 1. This is 1, which is a modulo b, which is 1 here. So that is how we get it, right? So it is pretty simple to use. If you want to include some mathematical operations in your code, you have the access to all the arithmetic operations. You can use them as per your requirement, as per your need, and maybe just use it as you want it. Okay, so far we have been seeing how to uh, display something onto the screen, right? So in just now we covered that how we can use arithmetic operators, right? So now in this video we'll see, apart from this, how can we let users give us the input. So what do I mean by that? Let's suppose we have this age, grade, name, student, the basically variable a and b. So just let's assume that here, instead of this value to be 10, this is the value which we are giving, right? But we want that the users give us this value. How do we think that is supposed to happen? So there is a way in C++ that helps you give users the choice to give values to a variable. For example, I'll show you. So I will comment out this, right? And what I will write here is cn. So before that, let us discuss about cn. We write cn for users input, right? Now this cn that you see, which is a part of users input, it helps users take the input. For example, I have a variable, or let's suppose I have a name. I write string name. Now this name, so initially I had, what we had in our code is this name, right? But I don't want this name to be pre-written or to be hard coded. I want this name to come from the user, right? So because different users have different name, I want users to make sure we put in the name. So what I can do, I can declare a variable and leave it as it is, right? Now if we want the users to give us the input, we can just something like cn followed by these sign, and this will, and now we have to mention the variable which we want to cn, which we want the users to type to get in the value for. In this case it is name, so I'll just write name. So now the users have a flexibility to write their own name instead of us developers giving them the hard-coded name itself. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so now we will try to implement this. We will come up here. So we can write something like, yeah, we can make a variable, and we already have a name declared, right? So because we cannot have two variables by the same name, I can do string name 2. This we can have, that's a different name, right? And I don't want any name to give. I don't want any name here. So I'll just end the statement. That is just a variable declared, but it is empty. It does not contain what do you say, any value. Now let's suppose I declare any one more variable. I say int age. We already have age, so I'll be using age 2. Now just see here. I will write cout, or let us forget about cout. I'll write cn. Yeah, first of all, I would want the users to give me the value which is name. Then I'll write cn age 2, right? So whatever name we have, I can just print out I can just say cout name to endl, cout age to endl, right? That means this name, whatever the user will type the name, we'll try to print it, as simple as that. Okay, now what I will do, I will run the input, run the code. So I'll give it the name, it is expecting an entry. So name to, maybe I'll give something like Shiva. Apart from that, the next name I will give something like age as 30. So once I give this, see, it now prints the result for me, right? So I can also write something like cout name, which is this and this. Similarly, I can do something here as age 2 and something like this, right? So now if I click again, yeah, if I run again, I'll give name as Shiva and age as 20, or Shivi, right? So now what does it say? It says name Shivi and age, which is 20. So that means this name is not written anywhere in my code. It is directly coming from the users, and that is the beauty of it. You can tell C++ that I don't want the name to be pre-written. Instead, what I want is, I want the name to come from the user itself rather than me hard coding it, right? So this is what you can do. You can have some other fields as well. So let's suppose I want to have int uh, yeah, marks underscore math, int marks underscore science, int marks underscore uh, maybe geography, int marks underscore chemistry, right? So we can have these marks. Int I can say, I'll not say passing marks, I'll say threshold marks, threshold underscore marks, and yeah, that's it. So maybe age does not have any relevance, we can get rid of the age. Similarly, I'll see in all the values. So first one is marks underscore math, next one is marks underscore science, then we have marks underscore geography. Maybe I'll just copy this, right, just to save time. Marks underscore chemistry. Similarly, marks, or these are not marks, these are threshold marks. Yeah, okay, I hope this makes sense. Similarly, I can just print them. So name is there, we have this, which has a value this. So we have maths, we have science, we have geography, we have chemistry, we have threshold. So maths is done. Next up we have science. I'll just replace it with science. Then we've got geography. I'll replace it with geography. Chemistry, I'll replace it with chemistry. Threshold marks, I will replace it with threshold marks, right? So yeah, it now expects me to give these inputs to the give these inputs as a user, and then we will see this all printed. So run. First of all, it expects a name. Oh, we have some mistake. Okay, some spelling mistake in geography maybe. So I will copy this. Yeah, I think now it is good to go. Okay. Okay, now I will run it. First of all, name. I will give Ritik. Next thing, maths marks. So out of 100, let's suppose I give myself 79. In science, I give 75. In geography, I was weak, so I would say 60. Chemistry, I would say 97. Threshold, I'll say passing marks, I'll say 33, right? And press enter. So now I have all the information. I've got name, I've got my maths marks, my science marks, my geography marks, my chemistry marks, and the threshold marks. That means I am passing in all subjects basically, right? So this is how you can use them to give an option for the users to enter their values and print it as per the requirement. Okay. So now since we have a good knowledge on what C++ is, how to take inputs, how to take outputs, what are arithmetic operators, we'll do a short activity, right? So the activity would be that um, you need to ask the student its name and marks and then display it very neatly, right? We've already kind of done a similar thing to it, so it's now your turn to give it a try before I do it, so that we can get more hands-on with it. So I'll just write the activity name. I'll maybe ask the student's name, right? We can ask the name, we can ask the age, which we didn't earlier, and marks, and we'll focus much more attention on how to display it neatly, right? And display it neatly, right? So before actually me trying it, why don't you maybe pause the video and try to do it yourself, and if there is some issue, maybe you can then resume the video to actually know what that is. Okay, so now let us start to do it. So for this I will comment all of this and this, right? And we'll start fresh. Okay, so we already have the boilerplate up. We have got int main, which is the entry point, all the necessary files, and I think it should be good to go, right? Now first of all comes my name. I will be asking the users to type in their name. So basically I'll have a map in my mind, what all I want to discuss, or what I want the users to print, and what all I want users to ask, and then print it accordingly, right? So let's say the user has given me the name, his or her name, then maybe I can write age, right? And apart from this I have got marks, right? So 3 variables and 3 things. Now first of all, I would want the users to actually see what they are typing. And how will you do that? We'll do that with the help of cout statements. So this is kind of optional. If you want to, you can give users you can give users a nice layout that, hey, please enter your marks. So the users will be prompted to enter their marks, and then you would be good to go, right? So we can do that. So I can do enter, right? So we could give users an option to display. So I could give maybe cout enter your name. So once the user enters their name, so yeah, I assume the user has entered their name. So once they do that, I will give an option to enter. So I'll do something like cn name, right? I hope this makes sense. Now next thing I want the users to do is to enter their age. So similarly, now I will ask cout enter your age, and users will enter their age. Lastly, we have marks. So cout enter your marks, and cn I will say marks. And most importantly, after each ending statement I will put a semicolon. So enter your name, enter your age, and enter your marks. Now what have we got now? So I assume the users have entered their name, right, based on these criteria. This criteria is something which we haven't done in the any of the videos so far. So we enter the age, we enter the name, and we enter the marks. The users get to see what they're entering due to this. And apart from this, I assume if they have entered it, now I can print it very neatly. I can say first of all cout, and maybe I can what do you say, draw a line. By line I mean something like this, or I could say student information, and I will print endl. Now I assume we have got this. First thing would be which is the cout name, and I will cout the name and press endl at the last. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3. Next up we have age age. Then up we have marks, we have marks, and we have marks. So this is all it. At the end of the day, what is the last thing that is remaining? To return 0. Return 0. Now I hope all this is kind of making sense and we are on the same page. So what all we have done, just we have declared 3 variables, printed out the information regarding to these 3 variables, right? And then as a display card, or as a report card, we are displaying the information. So now I will click on run, right? And it says enter your name. I will say Ritik. I will press enter. It now says enter your age. I will say 26. I will press enter. It now says enter your marks. It is so what happens is, see, now you are at this stage, right? So once you're at this stage, the program, it halts, it takes a pause, because it is expecting you to enter something. So right now it is in a pause state. It is expecting me to write something and then press enter so that it continues. Marks, let's suppose I say 70. Once I click enter, see, it says student information, it has my name, it has my age, it has my marks, right? So this is how you can print it. Now do make sure, if you are using cn, make sure to add these lines so that the user knows what they want to enter. Because in the previous video, we in the video, so when we let's check that again. So when we were doing this, when we were discussing about cn just a couple of minutes back, we did not discuss about cout. So it helps actually the users to get much more reference on what they are writing and what they want to do. So this is how you can do it, and this is how you can make a sense out of it, right? So now we will be starting with conditional statements, right? So let us look one by one what these conditional statements are and what do they do. Okay, so I will maybe comment this out. And and talk about conditional statements, right? So let me just paste it here, and yeah. Now, what is a conditional statement? So in short, conditional statement evaluates a piece, I would say a block of code based on certain condition. For example, I say that if my passing marks, right, if my passing marks, let's suppose, are greater than or I'll say if my marks are greater than passing marks, in this case maybe I can just see out that I have passed, right? So anything which involves a condition is called a conditional statement. Okay, so we'll see that in code. So for example, I have int marks as 80 and int passing marks as, let's suppose, 33, right? Now I say that I want to just check a condition, and I say that if I'm passing, then only I need to print I have passed. But if I'm not, maybe I need to print that better luck next time or try again hard later, something of that sort, right? And then I can say maybe good luck. Okay, so I'll say something like, if, like, with an if, it starts with an if, if my marks, right, if they are less than passing marks, that means the marks that I have obtained, if they are less than passing marks, and I'll have a block of code, I can say cout you have failed, right? If so, this was one if, right? If you want to, you can only have one. If you want, you can just get rid of this condition and it's good to go. But what if I have more than one condition, or maybe two condition or three condition? So I also have something called as an if else. So I say if my marks are less than my passing marks, I have failed, right? Else if my marks, the marks which I have obtained, if they are greater, if they are more than passing marks, what I simply say is, I say cout you have passed, right? Now two conditions, so these two conditions evaluate some statements, right? But what if I also want to add something which does not have a condition but which should be there, right? An else part, right? If this happens, then this. If this happens, then this. Then if nothing happens, let's suppose if my passing marks are equal to my marks obtained, I can say cout you have just passed, right? I mean, very borderline, because marks are, so see, condition one is if my marks is less, right? Condition two if my marks are greater. But what if my marks are equal, right? I've obtained exactly 33 marks. In this case, I can see out that you're just on the border, or maybe I can say you're just on the borderline. You just passed on the borderline. As simple as that, right? Now let's see and let's run out, and then we'll do some modifications to it. Okay, so initially my marks are 80 and my passing marks are 33. So is my marks, which is 80, less than 33? No, that means this condition will not be fulfilled. Then I'll check the else if, sorry. So I'll check if my marks, which is this marks, are the greater than 33. Yes, they are. So in this case, I'll just see out you have passed. So then, because this condition has been successfully executed, then rest of the conditions will not be executed, right? So only one condition get executed, so whichever is true will get executed, and I'll move out of my code. Let us run it. Okay, so first of all, I have some errors. Let us look what the errors are and let us rectify those. So first of all, it says it expected a semicolon, so that means I have not put a semicolon. I need to do that. I need to do that here as well and here as well. So 3 places I've done it. Okay, and it says you have passed. Let's suppose my marks were 32. Can you guess the output in this case? And in which condition will it lie? Let us run. It says you have failed. And why is that? Because my marks, which is 32, right, is less than the passing marks, which is 33. And that is why it has failed, right? So we have get failed. Now I'll do a very interesting thing. Instead of me giving my marks, right, instead of me hard coding the marks, I will let the students enter their marks, and then it will be decided whether they have passed or failed. So I can say something like int marks and cout enter your marks, and I'll take in the marks from the user, right? So, and also a semicolon here, right? So now based on what users write, I'll get the answer. So let's suppose I run my code. It says enter your marks. Let's suppose I enter 100. I press enter. It says you have passed. I will run it again. It says enter your marks. Maybe I'll write 12. I press enter. It says you have failed. I'll run the code again. This time I'll write 33. It says you have just passed only the borderline, right? So that means based on which condition we have, the code, the block of code is getting executed, and this is what we see. I hope you get a sense of what this is and how it kind of actually works, right? Right. So talking about this, so we have already seen how this works, right? Now let us talk more about this comparison operators, right? What do they do? So I will maybe comment out this code. And we'll talk about comparison operators. Right. So what are comparison operators? As the name suggests, comparison I think is there a spelling mistake? Yep. Comparison operators are used to compare two or more data types, right? I could say variables, right? For example, we have greater than, which compares if variable A is greater than variable B. So which compares if variable A is greater than variable B, right? We have less than, which is this. If a variable is less, or if variable A is less than variable B, or vice versa, right? We also have less than we also have greater than, equal to. We also have less than, equal to. Just means that it will also take in consideration the less or equal to part. Apart from that, we also have another variable which is equal to sign, which compares the equality between the two. So we call it double equal to. So this is the comparison. I'll say this one compares the two variables, and based on that gives a boolean value which is true or false based on whether the condition matches or not, right? So yeah, based on condition matches or not. And we also have not equal to. This is just the opposite for equal to, right? We can see this in example as well. So I'll come up here. I'll say int a equals to 10, int b equals 20, and I'll say if a is equal to b, if it is true, I'll see out a is equal to b, else if a is less than b, I'll see out a is less than b, else I can see out the values are equal, right? As simple as that. Now if I run my program, see, in this case the value of a is less than b, so I get a is less than b. Let's suppose I make a 200. If I do this, I'll get, oh, the values are equal. No, the values are not equal. Oh, see, I've done that. I've done if a is equal to b, then see out this. Else if a is greater than b, yeah, if it is greater than b, then I'll say I think, yeah, there's some mistake in the writing. There should be b is less than a. Yeah. So now if I print it, I get b is less than a. So b is 20, a is 100, so b is less than a, right? Apart from this, if let's suppose I say maybe I say that else if b is greater than a, I'll say that b is greater than a, right? So in this case, still like b is less than a, so it will turn b is less than a. But if I do b as greater, and now if I run it, now I get b is greater than a. So this is how the conditions actually work in C++. So based on whatever you want to compare, you can use these operators to do it. So now we will check, we'll do a short assignment. We'll check if the number is odd or even, right? So what I will do, I will comment out this, and we'll write a program to check if the number is odd, right? So odd or even. So I hope we all know what an odd number is, what an even number is. So we'll try to implement that functionality. Okay. So we already have the boilerplate, and I already have the necessary files. We just need to write the logic. Okay. So first of all, what I will do, what I will think of, maybe the user will give me a number, right? And based on that number, we have to see if the user has given an odd number to us or an even number. So I can do something like int num, right? Assume the user will give us a number, right? Because it has to be a number. Then I can do something like cout, enter num, right? So once we give an option to enter the number to the user, we'll also have to accept the number. So I'll say cin num, right? Okay. So what has to be the logic, right? So we have a very simple logic. Let's suppose I come up here, let's suppose we have a number as 4, right? So what I do is I try to find the remainder here. If the remainder is 0, I can say that the number is even. If not, I can say that the number is odd. For example, let me find the remainder of this one. So 2 times is 4. I will get 0 as the remainder. So that means this 4 is an even number. Let's try for maybe 5. So if I do 5, so I do 2 times 2 is 4, and I leave the remainder as 1. So can I say that if the remainder would be 0, and you can try it for any number, any even number or any odd number. Let's suppose I tried for 10. So 2 times 5 is 10. I have the remainder as 0. I can say that this is an even number. So if the remainder is 0, the number is even. If the remainder is odd, that is 1. So basically, if the number is 0, the remainder is even. If the remainder is 1, the number is odd. We can say that. So what I'll do, I try to implement the same thing. I'll say if num modulo 2 is 0, right? I can see out the number is even because we're getting 0 if you're finding the remainder. So I can say cout number is even. Else, if it is not the case, so if I know that if I type in else, that means the number modulo 2 is not 0. If it is not 0, I can just cout number is even, sorry, number is odd. Okay, so let us try to run this out. Let us see how this behaves. So I'll run the code. It says enter the number. I'll enter, let's suppose 2, and it says number is even. I will run it again. Just want to do some formattings. Yeah, okay. I will run it again, and I will say 999. The number is odd, right? Oh, okay, I think I did it here, but I need to do this not in the C out. I need to add a colon here so that it just looks good. That's it. Something like this, right? So if I run it again, I say maybe 100, I get number is even. I get, let's suppose I write uh, 875, I get, oh wait, 875, I get number is odd, right? So I hope we now know how this all is working, how the logic is. Just a simple logic. If the remainder is 0, we can say that the number is even. If it is not, we can say that the number is odd. Okay. Okay, so now since we have covered this, we'll try to look at an interesting um, alternate to if else. So we have seen if, right? We have seen else. We have also used it quite a lot now, but we have an alternate which is an if else alternate, and let us see what is that. Okay, so we call that something as switch, right? So in simple words, switch acts as an alternate to your if else, right? If else condition. So what is the case? So see, let's suppose we have multiple conditions, right? So if you have multiple conditions, let's suppose we have 10 conditions, so it will be very kind of untidy to write 10 different if. Let's suppose I have 10 different conditions. I say if number is this, do this. If number is this, do that. If number is this, do this. If number is this, do that. And let's suppose I write 10 ifs. So it will kind of be a little clustered, though there is nothing wrong with it. But the code will look quite clustered. So that is why we have something called as a switch statement. So let's suppose we have multiple conditions. Using if else, feels a little clustered, right? That's why we have an alternate called as switch, right? We have an alternate called as switch. Now let us see how can we implement this. So I'll come up here, right, and we'll try to implement switch. So we'll do one thing. We'll so we will kind of make the users, okay, let us do one thing. Let us make a calculator, right? Because calculator can have multiple conditions, because based on what operator you are choosing, the operator could be plus, minus, it could be division, it could be multiplication. So let's suppose we have 4 conditions. All the 4 is also a lot. So let us try with 4 conditions, and let us see how switch works in this case. So for in this case, first of all, I need the users to enter the sign, whether it be plus, minus, division, multiplication, and all of that sort. So because it is a sign, it is a character at the end of the day, I need to store it in a character variable. I'll say maybe character operator, and this the user will tell me what to write, and then will be the numbers which the user will enter. So it will be in the form of integer. I'll say int a and b. Now after this is done, I will expect the users to give me an operator. So I'll say cout enter, or maybe enter operator. So just like in calculator, you enter the operator which you want to perform, maybe multiplication, addition, subtraction, minus, division. So you write in, right? So that is what we are doing. I'll say enter the operator. Once the user has the operator, I will store it inside an OP character, so which will be this. right? Now here is how we use the operator. So I will say something like uh, something like okay, one more thing before that, we also have to have the numbers, right? So users will enter. So how does the calculator work? You enter a number, you then write in the operator, then you enter another number. So right, so now let's enter the number, right? So once I do this, I'll prompt the users to take in the numbers. So I can say C in A, and I can, if you want to like have multiple inputs in the same line, you could do something in the same line as well. C in A, C in B, something like this, right? So now we have this. Now here comes the main thing. Once I do this, I need to have a switch statement based on what operator the user is typing. So here is the syntax. I'll write something called as a switch and an operator, because based on operator my switch will change the sentence. Now it has multiple cases. Now I will write the cases whatever you want to. So let's suppose I have case, and the case is that user is typing a plus sign. So if the user is typing a plus sign, I need to do some operations based on the plus sign, as simple as that. So I put in a colon, and now I write in cout result, and now I give the result. So let's suppose if he or she is typing a plus, I just need to give the sum, which is sum of a plus b. And very important, at the end of each case you have to break. That means it moves out of the case. Similarly, so this was case 1. Similarly, now I can have case, let's suppose the user types in a negative, a hyphen, which means a subtraction. So in this case what I can do here is I can cout, I think this result would be common, and I could type in a minus b. And once I do this, I can break. As simple as that. I hope it is making sense. So two more cases. So maybe I'll take one for multiplication. It would be a into b. I will take one for maybe division. It would be a divided by b, right? So this is what you can do. And let's suppose if apart from this, the user types any random operator which is not a part of, let's suppose the user types in a dollar sign or at the rate sign, which is not a part of calculation. So you can also give in the default result. So let's suppose if none of the case matches, it comes in default, and you do something like cout, and you maybe write invalid operator, something like this, right? I hope this makes sense. And at the end of the day, what we are doing is we are just returning a 0. So let us see if this works or not. If there are any errors or something of that sort, we will try to rectify those and make the code functional, right? Okay, so I will say run. So the first is the user is wanting me to enter the operator. Maybe I want to add what do you say, plus, enter the number. So I can say 10, and I can say 20. So see, I typed in a plus and I get the result as 30, right? So how cool is that? I'm just typing, it is just a normal working calculator. If I run it again, I want to multiply. I enter the number as again 2 and maybe 3. I get the result as 6. I'll run it again. Enter the operators. I'll say 1. Oh, sorry, maybe I want to, maybe this time what else? Minus. I'll say 20. Oh, sorry, I'll say minus. I'll say 20 and 20. I get result as 0. Let's check it for division. Enter the operators. I will say divide. Enter the number. I will say maybe 100 and 100. I get the result as 1 because 100 divided by 100 is 1. Now lastly, let me type any invalid operator. Let's suppose I type in at the rate by mistake. I enter the number as 20 and 10. In this case, it says invalid operator. Why? Because it matches none of the cases, and if it matches none of the cases, I come to default and it literally prints invalid operator. So this is all it is about. You could have also used an if else, that is also fine, but in cases where there are multiple situations or multiple conditions, always prefer to use a switch instead of what you say your if else, right? So I hope this is giving a good sense out of how it works and how it replaces if else if there are multiple conditions. So after using switch statements and a lot of conditional statements, let us take our discussion one level up, and let us now see what are loops and what are the different types of loops and how we can use them. Okay, so I'll write here loops, right? Now I hope you must have heard at least somewhere in your journey, like we use loops, we maybe use a for loop or a while loop. So what are loops? In short, in layman terms, loops are nothing but loops help you repeat. So as the name suggests, right, loops, we are looping. It helps you repeat code until a certain condition is met, right? So this condition could be anything. The repetition part could be anything. So it all depends. We'll see although in an example what are the different types of uh, logic we could write, but in short, this is the uh, core, I would say, basic definition of what loop is. They help you repeat a certain task until a specific condition is met. Now we majorly will look into three types of loops. One would be a for loop, the other would be a while loop, and the next one, which is not so common, it is a do while loop, right? But we majorly use for and while, right? We hardly use do while, but again, since it is something which can be used sometimes, so we should know about it as well, right? So first of all, let us talk about for loop. Let us get to the syntax of it. So I will comment out this, and we'll talk about for loop. So let's suppose we want to print number. So let us think of a repetitive task. I think that we want to print numbers from 1 till 10. Now you'll say that how is that a repetitive task? Because if you want to print numbers from 1 to 10, we on each iteration we are increasing the count of the number. So we call this a repetitive task. Why is that? Because we are kind of doing the same thing. It's just that we are incrementing our counter by 1. So let's suppose first we print 1, then we print 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's say we want to print till 1000 or 10,000 or 1 lakh, 10 lakhs. So the process is same, it's just that the counter of the number is increasing. So we call that a repetitive task. So for this, what we can do is, the syntax of for loop is pretty simple. Use a for, right? And here comes three things. Number one is the initialization, right? From where do you want to initialize your starting point? Because I want to print numbers from 1 to 10. Here 1 would be the initialization point. So I can say int I equals 1, right? Next would be the condition, till where I need to print the numbers, because as I told you, you have to, like, loop. The definition of loop is you repeat a code until a specific condition is met. Now here is that condition. From till where do you want, so where do you want the loop to stop? I want to stop it when I will be less than or equal to 10. And why do I say it? Because let's suppose I is 1 2 3, it goes on till 9, till 10. Now it will print 10 because 10 is also less than or equal to, it matches the equal to condition. And after this, once the counter goes to 11, the loop stops. Which reminds me, the next would be the counter. That is, on each and every iteration, I need to do I equals to I plus 1. And then you have a block of code. So pretty simple. We have the initialization, we have the ending condition, and then we have got the counter. I say cout, and I can just print the value of I and maybe a space as well to denote the other iterations. As simple as that, and we are good to go, and then we can return 0. This is how simple it is. So if I run the code, see, I get numbers printed from 1 till 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, see, this, if I want to print numbers till 100, till 1000, till 10,000, maybe lakh, 10 lakh, maybe 1 CR, I can easily do it. I just have to increase the ending condition. It is as simple. Right? So it is very convenient in let's suppose I want to print it till 100. I'll easily get it the numbers I'll easily get the numbers printed till 100. It is as simple as that. So this is what it is, right? So this is the syntax. This is how we do it, right? Okay. The next comes up is a while loop. Now, so I'll comment out this. I'll try to implement the same thing in a while loop. Now, in a while loop, what to do is so see, these things will remain common, right? Which is the initialization, the condition, and the increment. In while loop, what you do is you write the initialization part at first. You say, let's suppose int I equals to 1. Now this is the same initialization part which is there in the for loop. After this, you write in the condition that you write your ending condition, which is basically this. You say while I is less than equal to 100, what do you want to do? You want to print the count. Let's suppose I say, or maybe I can say, yeah, it's fine. I can say I, and I can give a space. And very importantly, next comes the iteration. So I can, on each and every iteration, I could say I equals to I plus 1. Right? So this is the same code which has been converted from a for loop to a while loop now, right? And this is what it is. So see, this is the initialization part, which is this part. This is the condition, which is I is less than equal to 100, which is this part. And this is the printing part, which is this, and this is the increment part, which is I equals to I plus 1, which is this part, right? So this is what it is. We are just kind of using a loop only, but in a different format. So if I print this now, see, I can get the same result, which is the numbers printed from 1 till 100, right? Let's suppose you want to print it the other way around. If you want to print numbers from 100 to 1, so what you do, you initialize it with 100. You say till I is greater than or equal to 1, and on each and every iteration you do I equals to I minus 1. So in this case, the numbers would be, oh, I think this bracket got uh, removed. So in this case, I have numbers printed from 100 till 1. It's just that you have to just play with the conditions, as simple as that. Okay. Now, apart from this, we have a do while loop. Now, do while loop is very interesting. It says that it will see if you use a do while loop, right? You have to run a condition at least once. Why do I say it? Because let's suppose I want to print numbers from 1 till I is less than, or maybe I'll say I is greater than equal to 1, right? So in this case, my loop will get executed once. So if you see this, I'll get 1. But if I remove the greater than sign, in this case, my loop will not get executed. Why? Because this condition is always false. But whereas in do while loop, it says that you have to at least run the code once. So the syntax is pretty easy to use, as the name suggests. I again initialize int I equals to 1, After this, I say something like do, because it is a do while loop. Now I write the first condition because it prints first and then it calculates the condition. Maybe do C out I, and once this is done, right, I'll increase my counter. Now I gets increased to, let's suppose, 2, and now I write while the condition comes at the last. Basically, just we're playing with the condition, we're playing with the placement of the conditions. I say I is less than or equal to 100, as simple as that. And when this is done, I just return 0. So now if I print this, see, I get the exact same result, but it is in a do while loop. So I write the ending statement first, which here comes in inside this loop. The increment counter, which is I plus plus, which is the same as I equals to I plus 1. I write it here, and then comes my while loop. So it is a do while. You are doing it first, and then you are checking the condition. As simple as that, right? So this is what it is. We mainly use these two. This could be used in some extreme cases, but yeah, this is the way to go, and this is what we generally prefer. Okay, so far we have seen the use of loops. We saw different types of loops like the for loop, the while loop, and the do while loop, right? I hope we have a good idea on what these loops are, how to use them, and when like what is the syntactical difference between all the loops. Okay, now we will take our discussion one level up. We will now see what arrays are. Okay, so this is something interesting, and this is something which is used a lot in C++ actually. So let us see in by definition what array is, and then we'll see in code, and we'll implement it in code as well, right? So arrays. What is an array? I can say that an array is a collection. So it is a collection of the same type of records, right? Is a collection of same type of records, and most importantly, which is stored at a consecutive memory location, which is stored at a consecutive memory location. Now I'll actually explain you what this means. Okay, location. Now just imagine that you want to store the marks of 5 different subjects for a particular student, right? So what can you do? One way is to have 5 different integer variables, just like we saw in the examples which we have done in the previous part. You take in 5 different variables, store it in 5 different locations, and would do it. But what is the best way to do it? The best way to do it is declare an array, right? Assume this to be an array, right, which contains memory blocks like this, right? Now this is a single structure. This is a single structure which which is consecutive. That means it is one after another, and it can store information. So basically, here you can have, let's suppose, maths, here you can have science, right? And basically, let's suppose we have subject 3, right? We can have subject 4, we can have subject 5, right, subject 6, and all together. So the main idea here is that this is a single variable. Now these are, so this is not a different variable, this is a single variable, right? This is a single entity which contains blocks of code. It contains blocks, right, which stores different information altogether, and there's a way to access each and every block. We'll see how that is, but there is a way to access each and every block, which means that accessing elements inside an array is also very convenient. So this whole structure is called as an array, right? So as I told you, a collection of same type. Now what do I mean by same type? Same type means that if you are, let's suppose, storing integer, all of it should contain integers, right? You cannot store characters, integers, mix of boolean values. No, it has to be of a similar data type. That means if this is in integer, all of it has to be integer. If this is character, all of it has to be a character. That what it means. And stored at a consecutive memory. That means this is stored one after another, right? So it is not stored somewhere else. It is stored at one after another location. That means it is very easy to access. Now let's leave apart the theory part. Let us see how to implement this, right? So implementation is pretty simple as well. So what I will do, I will comment. Now I will say that, let's suppose I need to store, as we just took an example, right, marks. So I will do something like, I can say int marks, and if you want it to be an of an array data type, you have to first of all specify how many blocks you want, right? So we, let's suppose I want 5 blocks, so I'll occupy, that means 5 blocks will be reserved in my memory. So I can say int marks. Let's suppose I want to store 5 subjects, so I can store something like this, and I can write 5 square brackets, and then you write 5, and then you can assign values to it, right? Marks. So let's suppose I get 85 separated by a comma. I give 70, 65, 76, 67. Right, so this successfully I have created a marks array. You can consider it as a whole entity which has 5 blocks, and each contains this value. Now let's see how can we print it. So if I say something like cout marks in 5 subjects are, right, so each and every subject, and let's go here I have and L, and now I can loop and print each and every. So I'll tell you how to do it. So we have already learned about for loop, right? So this is how we can use it. So I can say int I. Now remember one thing. So this here, right, this block that you see, it has an address to it, and the computer stores it in the address. That's how we can retrieve it, right? So it has a convention, right? So we have something called as indexes. Now what are indexes? Indexes are nothing but indexes are just used to name your blocks. So that, let's suppose, and always indexing starts from 0. So let's suppose this is index number 0, this is index number 1, this is index number 2, this is index number 3, index number 4, index number 5, index number 6, and index number 7. So this means that indexing, what are indexes? Indexes are location marks in your block, so that we can get to know at what location what is stored, and it always starts from 0. So I can see that in, so let's suppose someone asks me, hey, what is present at index number 2? I can go to index number 2 and I can say, hey, subject 3 is present at index number 2. So similarly, we have, now since I have the access to indexes, I can loop. I know that indexing starts from 0, so I can say int I equals to 0, I less than. Now what is the size here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and indexing starts from 0, so I can say I less than 5 and I plus plus, right? I plus plus, I can say cout which is printing subjects and now I can give let's suppose we have subject 1, subject 2, subject 3, subject 4, subject 5. Let's keep it simple this time. I can just print, if you want to, I can just print ARR of I and NDEL, as simple as that. Wait, the name was marks, yeah, so it will be marks of I. So that means on first iteration I will head over to marks of 0. So marks of 0 is what? Marks of 0 is 85. Marks of 1 is 70. Marks of 2 is 65. Marks of 3 is 60, 76. Marks of 4 is 67. So these are index 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now let us run it and let us see what this brings. Okay, so as you can see, marks in 5 subjects are 85, 70, 65, 76 and 67. This is how we do it, right? So I hope this makes sense. We'll be seeing much more of it, obviously, but this should be clear to you that what is an array. An array is nothing but it is just a collection of data, and the data is stored in a consecutive format. Indexes are just representation of the blocks, each and every block, so that we can access your arrays. So an indexing always starts from 0, right? So for example, let's suppose I simply want to access what is present at index number 3. I can do something like, hey, cout marks present at index number 3. So can you guess what will be the answer for this one, index number 3? So if I say 0, 1, 2, 3, I will get 76, right? So if I uncomment this, or so if I comment this, I can just print an individual subject and I get 76. Why 76? Because 76 is present at index number 0, 1, 2 and 3. So we are wanting index number 3, it is present at index number 3. That's how we can access it, right? I hope this makes sense. So now we have a basic idea on what arrays are, what are indexes, and how we can access arrays. Now, to make this concept even stronger, we will do a short activity based on arrays itself, right? So what we will do is, we will try to store marks for 5 different subjects, right? Based on that, we'll display if the student has passed or failed, and based on that we'll calculate the average marks. So it is a bit of computations here, right? So we are making something like a marks calculator, right? What will it do? Basically store marks of 5, I can say 5 subjects. Then I can say, out of these 5 subjects we have stored, I'll calculate the total and the average. So whatever the average the student has, we'll calculate the average and display pass or fail based on the average, right? So again, I think the problem statement is very clear. We'll store 5 subjects, calculate the total, display whatever marks we have, and also the average, and based on that say pass or fail. Okay, so let us come here. First of all, I will comment this out. Okay, so what is the first thing that comes up to our mind? It is nothing but having a location to store the marks, right? So since we told that we have to store 5 subjects, so I'll block a space, an array itself for 5 elements. I can say something like marks and say 5. Apart from this, since I need a total and an average, I can declare variables for these as well. I can say int total, initially it would be 0, and int average to calculate the average, which also initially would be 0, right? Now, since now we want kind of the students to give us the marks, right? So this is what we'll do. So we'll make a placeholder and display that enter your marks, so that student knows when to enter the marks. So I can say something like cout enter marks for 5 subjects, right? Enter basically whatever marks you have, enter it for 5 subjects, and I will say endl. Now once we have it, so once we have the marks, I need to enter the marks one by one, right? So since now we have an array, so for each index we have to store marks, right? So we'll have to loop so that we are at each index and we can store the marks. So I can say something like for int I equals to 0, I less than what, 5, because that's what the index size is, and I'll say I plus plus. Now for each and every index, I'll say cout subjects, which is, or I'll say maybe I can say subject, which is each and every subject, and so I can say subject 1, subject 2, subject 3, subject 4, right? So I can use index for that, because indexing starts from 0. I cannot say subject 0, that would be too odd. So I'll say maybe subject 1, so I can say subject 0 plus 1, which is 1, and I can have a space, right? So once we have it, now I can enter the marks. I can say cn marks of I, which means marks of I. So initially I would be 0, so it will be marks of 0, so I'll enter marks of 0. Then the iteration will increase, I will be 1, so then it will be marks of 1, then marks of 2, then 3, then 4, so till 5, till size 5 will iterate and will put the marks. So now if we have entered the marks, based on that we have to calculate the total as well. So total will be nothing but, I can say total equals to, so whatever the value of total is, so till now, which is total plus marks of I. That means, let's suppose I, at index number 0, I put in marks 20, so marks 20 would be entered, plus total will have a count, total will increase from 0 to 20, because initially it is 0, now it will increase to 20, because I say total equals to 0 plus 20, 20 is 20. So now let's suppose I come to index number 1, I say marks as 40, so total would be total plus marks of I. What was total earlier? It was 20. Now what is it? It is 40, right? So it will be 60 now. 20 plus 40 is 60, it will be 60 now. So at each and every iteration we'll calculating the total as well, right? Okay, so now since once this is done, I have it here, I can calculate the average. Now what would be average? Average would be what? So it would be total, so since there are 5 subjects, by 5, as simple as that. Now if I want to, I can print the total marks and the average marks. I can say, let's suppose total marks, and I could say total. Similarly, I can say average marks, and I could print in avg, average. So whatever values we have created, we are just printing them, and then now last thing remains, right, to calculate the passing marks. Now since we have the average of marks, so we could have a criteria. Let's suppose if the average is more than 33, or if the average is more than 40, then you pass. If it is not, you fail. So I can use if else here. I can say if avg is greater than or equal to 40, I can say that result is pass. So cout result pass. And maybe I can just have some celebration as well. Maybe I can, congratulations, we have something for congratulations. I'll just check. Yeah, maybe this one, right? Else, since we can have an else, I can say see out result fail, and maybe I can have a sad emoji, or yeah, this one, result fail. So this is how it would look like. Let's run it first. Let us see if it works. If there are any errors, we'll see what that is, and we'll try to step by step see what's happening. Right? We'll go through the code as well once again. Okay. So I click run, and it says enter marks for 5 subjects. Subject 1, I'll say I got 60. Subject 2, I'll say I got 70. Subject 3, I'll say I got 80. Subject 4, I got 90. Subject 5, let's suppose I got 50, right? So it says total marks is 350 based on the sum. So what, 70 plus 60 is what, 70 plus 60 is 130. 130 plus 80 is 210. 210 plus 90 is 300, and 300 plus 50 is 350. That's correct. And we've got the average marks, so 350 by 5, so 5 7 is 350, so we have 70 here. And 70, since 70 is greater than your 40, this condition, it says result pass. So let us once again go through the code. So we first of all created int marks, which is an array which contains all this. we have we have variables for total and for average. And so this is see out enter marks for 5 subject, which is this line, enter marks for 5 subject. And for each iteration, for each what do you say, index, I'm having a specific entry. So let's suppose for, so see out subject I plus 1, so initially I would be 0, so 0 plus 1 is 1. So subject 1, I enter marks as 60, then the next, and the total now becomes to 60. Next I go to next iteration, because this condition is still true. I say see out marks, I is 1 now, 1 plus 1 is 2, so subject 2. Subject 2, let's suppose I enter 70, so now total will be 60 plus 70, and it will keep on going till I hit this ending condition. So once I do it, I'll calculate the average, which is total by 5, and I see out total marks is 350, average marks is 70. Based on this, I'm showing whether the result is pass or fail. Right, so this is what it is. This is generally what we do with arrays, right? We just should know how to store information in an array, how to access information, how to use indexes for that. So this is how it is, right? So I hope it made sense. Okay, so now we will see what functions are, and we'll see how to use functions, and we'll see a snippet of how functions are beneficial in life. Okay, so first of all, let us start with the basic definition on what functions are. Right, so if you've not heard of what functions are, so by definition, functions are nothing but just a piece of, I would say, a block of code which is used to perform a specific task, in simple words, right? So I can just write a block of code used to perform a specific task, specific, specific task, right? And this task could be anything, right? So uh, let's suppose you want the same code to repeat again and again. What do I mean by that is, let's suppose I come up here, right? Or a better example, let's suppose we want to add two numbers, right? So how does that work is, I tell the user to add two numbers, and what I do is I give two numbers that the, so Basically the user enters two numbers, and based on that I perform an addition, right? Now let's suppose this specific task, right? So I give the user two numbers, I have a plus operator, I print out the result, and I that's it. So we have basically 3 or 4 lines of code here. Let's suppose this same 3-4 lines of code I want to um, put at multiple places in my program, right? So let's suppose I want the same adding functionality to be added to 15 different places in my program, right? Let's suppose that's a necessity of our code. So will you go ahead and write the same addition code 15 times? No, that's not how things work. So for that, we have a function. As I told you, it is a block of code used to perform a specific task. So we can make a function for that code, and wherever we want to use that code, we can just use the function name that will access the code. I hope this is making sense. We'll see it in example, but this is the whole logic. So we don't, let's suppose there is a block of code which you want to repeat every time, right? And at 15 different places in the program. So you don't go and add the same code at 15 places. You just make a function and use that function 15 times instead of writing the code 15 times. So this is how it works, and we'll see much more. Okay. Now, so as I told you, right? So what all features it brings? So I would say first is the reusability. We are reusing the same piece of code without even writing the code again. We just are writing the function, not the whole code. So it is reusable, right? Next up, I could say it is a very cleaner and organized code. Now assume that having let's suppose 15 times you're writing the code, so that means you're multiplying the number of lines of code. So let's suppose each function has 4 lines, so 15 into 4, right? So this is how much extra space it would take. But if you write a function, it will just be a 1 line code, right? So I can say cleaner code, and since if the code is cleaner, it will be very easy to debug. So this is what we can achieve using functions. Now let us see how can we actually build the structure of a function. Now function mainly contains two things, right? One is the function name, one is the invocation part, like how you invoke a function, and the next is the declaration part. So it has two things. So if I say function, it has got two things: the invoke part, the declare part. So first you have to declare the function, and then on declaration, after it has been declared, now you can invoke means calling the function. Invoking, that means calling the function. Now let us see how can we declare it. To declare the function, we have a syntax, and that is pretty much simple. So we have the return type, which is the data type, whether we want the function to return an integer, a character, a boolean, of that sort. So I'll say, let's suppose int, then comes my function name, let's suppose add. My function name is add, and this will contain the parameters. So these are parameters. Parameters are the values which we pass when we invoke the function. So I'll write here, this is called as a parameter, right? So this is how we declare it, and we then write the logic of what this function will do, and as simple as that. So here will be the code, right? The code which will be written inside the function. Now invocation is pretty simple. If you want to invoke the function, you just call the function name, let's suppose add, and then pass in the arguments. So these are called as arguments, and this is called as a parameter. So let's suppose if you want to add two numbers, so here while invoking or while calling the function, you send in two numbers. You say that the numbers are 2 and 3. So these numbers, they get stored inside the parameter, and since now the add function has access to these parameters, we can write the logic which you want to perform using these two numbers, right? I hope this is making sense. uh, Let us see an example of how this works. So I will comment this. and I will say something like, or let us try to calculate the area of rectangle. So area of rectangle is nothing but length into breadth, so it is basically multiplication of two numbers. So what I will do, first of all, I need so this is already int main, right? So inside the main function, first of all I will write so it will take two values, length and breadth. I will add two variables. I'll say int length, initially it is 0, int breadth, initially it is 0. So two variables, uh, integer types, length and breadth. I can say first of all I can say cout enter length and cin l. This would be now cout enter and enter the breadth, or the width would be a better word, and cn breadth. So basically I'm just taking the values from the user so that I can put it into the arguments and call the function. Now, so what I will do now, I will declare my function. So what I told you, that it takes in the data type, which is the type of the function. It will be if it will be an integer data type, because it will return an integer value, because this will be an integer value, right? Length and breadth is integer. And the function name, so I can call the function name as maybe area of rectangle, rectangle. Now this will take in the parameters. So basically when I call the function, let's suppose I call int answer equals to, I call area, this name, area of rectangle, and I pass in these values. So I'll pass in L, I'll pass in B, length and breadth. So once I do this, this length and breadth would have to be accessible to the above function when we are declaring it. So it will be int L and int breadth, as simple as that. Now once I do, I just need to simply return multiplication of both these, so L into B, as simple as that. So how will this work? So initially my code will start from line number 195. I will two variables would be declared, length and breadth. I'll ask the users to fill in the length and breadth, and whatever length and the breadth or the width the user has given to us, I will call out in this area of rectangle function. I will pass it as an argument to my declared function. So this is function declaration and this is function invocation. So I'll just write it here as well. It is invoke and it is declare. So if you are declaring it, I'm passing the values. If I'm invoking it, I'm receiving the values up. So if I receive the values, I can now simply print length into breadth, which will give me the answer. Let's suppose I click on run. Okay, so we have an error. It says it was not declared in the scope. Let us see why that is. Maybe the spellings. I hope the spellings are fine. Okay. Okay. So we have a function declaration is not allowed here. Okay. Oh, one more thing that we forgot, and that is that your function declaration should be outside your int main, right? So I will move it. So okay, where is our int main? Yeah, this is our int main. Okay, and yes. So basically, what it is saying, that it has to be outside your int main, right? So this is where my int main is closing. I will move all this code inside my int main so that this remains outside. So this is outside my int main, or maybe okay, now this makes sense, because see, this int main should not have, that is, this should not have a function, because this is already a function. So the function declaration should happen outside your int main, right? Or maybe you can write it here. So if what I can do here as well is I can copy this and get rid of this first, right? And I can write it here, right? So now if I click on run, let's see if there are any errors. So see, now there are no errors. That means the declaration should have happen outside int main. Always make sure of this. So length I write is as 3, breadth or width I write it as 4. Okay, I think we are not printing, we're not printing the value, so we can do that. Yeah, since now my value is in answer, I can say cout answer. Okay, I click on run, I say length as 3, I say breadth as 4, and I get the answer as 12. So now anywhere you want to use this code, you just use this one. That's it. You just, let's suppose I want to use at 15 different places. I can just use this line, which will have access to this code here, right? So we are saving on time, we're saving on function, we're saving on memory. That's what functions are used for. So I hope this makes sense, right? So main thing here is to understand the difference between the function declaration, function invocation, arguments and parameters. Once you do it, it will be just a piece of cake work for you. Okay, so we have come a long way, right? So uh, we in the previous part we saw what function is, how can we declare a function, what is the difference between the function declaration and the function invocation, plus what are parameters, what are arguments, right? So I hope this is clear to you. Now, with this being said, let's move to another concept which is often called as oops, right? Which I say is the heart of not only C++, of any programming language. Oops. And remember, once we were discussing the benefits of C++, we told that it is an object-oriented programming language. So this is what an object-oriented programming structure is. That is called as OOPS, 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 right? So we'll see what this means. We'll implement the concept of OOPS and we'll see how can we make some meaningful programs out of this. Okay, so first of all, the question comes up here is what is OOPS? So basically, the concept of oops, right, it majorly consists of two main things. One is your class and one is your object. So we have something called as class and we have something called as objects, right? These are the whole of oops, right? It only revolves around your classes and objects. Now, talking about a class, what is a class? I will say a class is a blueprint. So I say a class is a blueprint. Now what do I mean by a blueprint? So let's suppose I can say by blueprint I mean like a design, like let's suppose I can say, or to be specific I can say like a car design, right? Now remember, like, so let's suppose we have the design of the car, right? We're not considered about what is the specifications or what the interior is. We just want to know the class, we just want to know the design of the car. So let's suppose so for example, if you go to a car market, if you want to purchase a car, so a specific model, let's suppose I take in the consideration Swift or Creta. So that single Creta car, it has many variants to it. The base model, the mid variant, the top variant, and all of that sort. And each variant has a little bit of differences. Maybe one has an automatic gearbox, one has a manual gearbox, one has 1.5 liter naturally aspirated engine, one has 1.5 liters turbo engine. So these are the differences which we have. But notice one thing, the outer body of the car remains the same. It is just the interior, it is just the internal features like the engine, the ventilated seats, the dashboard, all of the speakers, these sort of things changes. So a class can be considered as the blueprint of a car, and objects are nothing but the internal features of a car. So that's why I say that a class is a blueprint, right? Now an object, so that's for class. Yeah. Now for object, I say that objects is a real product. Right? It is a real product which is built, most importantly, which is built from a blueprint. Right? I hope the difference between an object and a class is clear to you in layman terms. We'll be seeing it in code how this works, but now this should be fine, right? Another example, let's suppose we have a class, we have a car blueprint, right? The object could be, let's suppose if we go even one level broader, like we have a car as a blueprint, right, which has four wheels, it has got a body, it has got a steel covering and all of that sort. Now which type of car, that would be an object. So maybe I say Tata Nexon i20. These are cars which are built from four wheels, from a steel covering, from whatever common features that it has. So this is also one of an example, right? So let us do one thing. Let us head over to this compiler and let us try to make something out of it. So here I will come up. Yeah, maybe I can just comment this out. Okay, now the first thing is that so again, as I told you, there are two things. One is the class, one is the object. So class is always declared outside your main. So this is my main, I'm declaring it outside. So I will declare a class now. So the class always, so I'll also say here that I'm defining a class. Now the class always starts with a keyword which is very specific to it, which is class. So which helps us kind of recognize that, hey, it is a class. So I say class, then comes the name of the class. I'll say maybe car, because we are taking a car example. I'll say car. Now after that comes your access modifier. So I'll write public. I'll tell you what that means, right? So if I say public means that the properties of this class will be accessible to outside world, or will be accessible in out will be accessible in my main function, basically, if I talk about in coding language. So maybe I can say something like it has a brand, which I'll say string brand, and I can say something like speed. Let's suppose the top speed, it has something of that sort. So we have these things. Now apart from this, to display an information, we can use a function if you want to. So let's suppose I say void. Okay, so void is nothing but void is a function which returns nothing. So we have seen types of functions, right? We saw int, right? We have majorly seen int, which returns an int, because see, this is an int, it returns int. But there are also functions where we don't want to return anything. In that case, we write void, right? So void is the keyword. I'll say display info, and with this I can display the info. I can maybe say cout brand, I mean whatever the brand is, and I could display this brand. Next up, I can also see out the speed, and I can say here speed, right? So basically I'm just trying to display the objects of the properties of the class which will come from the object. So we'll see how does that work. So this was just the invocation of the class, and it has to end with a semicolon at the end, right? So this is a whole class. This is a class, right? This has been declared, now nothing. So we just now have to create an object out of it. So let's see how can we create an object. So for creating an object, I'll say creating an object. Now, for creating an object, what I can say is, first of all, I need to create. So basically, first of all, I need to create an instead of the class object. So how do I do it? I say car, which is nothing but the name of my class, which is this car. Maybe I'll write it in capitals just to make it unique. Okay. So now I'll say car, which is the name, and now I will give my object name. It could be anything, just like we name a variable anything, we can name it anything. I can say, let's suppose my car. As simple as that. Now this my car will have the access to the properties, which is brand and speed. And why I'm saying this, it will have the properties, it will have the access because it is public. One is private. If you do it private, then it will not have the access. Then there are different ways to provide the access to it, but for now we're only concerned about this public keyword, which gives the access to the main. So now it has the access. Now I can literally do anything out of it. So let's suppose I want to set the brand. I can say my car, use a dot notation, then the brand, which was the properties that we said, and you can give it the brand. Let's suppose I give the brand as maybe Tata, right? And I can say my car dot speed, and I can give the speed as, let's suppose 120, right? So this is how it is. And most importantly, if I want to display, because see, now I have set the properties, but I need to display it. How can I display it? How can I print it? For printing, I can use display info. So in here, I can just simply do my car dot, I think what was the spelling? I'll just copy the spellings from above, dot display info. Yeah, I'll do my car dot display info. And this is how it will be displayed to it. So let's suppose now I run it. I run the code. Okay, so we have a spelling mistake. Okay, it says invalid conversion from character to int. Okay, that means we're trying to convert a character into int. And why is that? Because see, I have mistakenly wrote it inside quotes. That means it is a string, but I want it a number, so I'll do it like this. Okay. And also one more thing, it says that my was not declared. So yeah, it has, instead of my, it should be my car, a small typo. Okay. And that's how you debug, right? So you see what it is in the information. If you know your code, you'll be able to debug it very easily. So now if I run it, so see, it says brand Tata and speed 120. Now what is happening? See, this is an object, right? This is an object of class car. This is the same class which we have declared here, car, right? Now what I'm doing is I'm saying my car dot brand equals to Tata. Now it will search that this car class should have this brand as a property. So I go here, this car class, it has a brand and it is public. That means it is accessible. So what I'm doing is I'm setting this brand equal to Tata. That means that brand has a value of Tata now. Similarly, I'm doing my car dot speed. So in this case, see, speed is here, and this is the object of a class car, and I'm assigning the speed value, the speed property, with a value of 120. That is how we have it. And lastly, I'm using my car dot display info. So this is my car dot display info, which in which I'm printing basically the brand and the speed, the brand and the speed. This is how the relation works. So you create a blueprint, which it could have another property as well. Let's suppose I have the color. I can have the color as well. So you can also display the color instead of that. Let's suppose I want to display the color. I say string color. So I can say, so this is what I have declared, right? So one more property I've added. So herein I can also say cout color, and I will write color here. Now I can also set the color. Let's suppose I say my car dot color equals to black. So I've set one more property to this blueprint. Now if I run this again, I get the color as well as black. So similarly, it is a blueprint, right? You can literally add anything and set the properties from here. It is as simple as that. Okay, so I know we have come a long way, right? We have been discussing all around C++. So in just just some time back, we just saw what a class is, what an object is, how can we create a class, how can we create an object, and all of that sort. Now, this can be used, so this class and object concept can be used a lot in C++. So in this one, in this part, we will be actually creating an activity. We'll be creating a bank system out of this using classes. So it will also help you get more uh, it will help you get more grips on what classes are, and it will give you much more confidence. So let us see. Okay, so what we'll be building is we'll be building a banking system, right? So banking system means that we will have a class, maybe let's suppose bank account, and which can store the customer's name, his address. If he deposits any money, we can get to know that. If he withdraws any money, we can get to know that. We can also let the user show their balances and all of that. So we'll try to implement it all around just how a banking system works. You can withdraw, deposit, show balance, and all of that. So we'll try to implement the functionality, right? So the first thing that comes up here is defining the blueprint, right? So a common bank, we can think it off as a common bank which has some names, right? So I can start with the class. I can start with the name of the bank. I can say that it is nothing but bank account. Yeah, this looks good, bank account. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create something, maybe okay. Right, so I was just thinking about the names, right? So maybe let's suppose we can have a name, right? Then maybe we can have the name of the customer comes, then we can have the balance, the bank balance that he has. So I can say int balance, right? Apart from this, what we could have is we could have something called as a constructor, right? So what is a constructor? Constructor is nothing but a constructor is the first instance which gets invoked when you call a class. So and constructor is created by the same name which your class is. So I can just say bank account. It is just like a function itself, nothing fancy, but it is something which gets called as soon as you run your object. So I will have the name as string, and I'll have the balance as int. So I'll say int b, and now I'll just set it up. So I'll say name equals to n, and I'll say balance, which is my balance which I have which I have created as a property of a class. It would be equal to p, right? Now once we have it, we can now actually show what all to have it. So what I'll do, I'll have a function, a void function, which will not return anything, as we discussed just some time back. Let's suppose I want to deposit. And so if I click, let's suppose class dot deposit, so this deposit function should trigger. So I say deposit void deposit. Now it will obviously take in the amount which the user wants to deposit. So I'll say int maybe amount. So deposit, how will this work? So basically, if I go to a bank, I say I want to deposit any money. So this function will get triggered if I want to deposit any money. So now amount in deposit. Now I'll have to keep some checks, right? If I say, let's suppose I'll say I will only deposit if the amount is greater than 0, right? So I cannot deposit any negative currency, right? It has to be a positive currency. It has to be at least have a 1 rupee or 1 paisa. So I can say if amount is greater than 0, then only deposit. So now my balance would be, which is this balance actually, balance would be equal to whatever balance was there earlier plus the new amount which the user has entered. As simple as that, right? And I can also maybe print deposited. right? Deposited amount, and I can give the amount here, and maybe I can have an endl. As simple as that, right? And if not, let's suppose if the user plays with me, he gives me -10. Obviously I cannot deposit that amount, right? It makes no sense in banking world to deposit a negative currency, right? If we have this condition, I can say invalid amount deposited. I can maybe just print out invalid amount deposited, right? As simple as that, and I can print endl. Right, I hope we are good to go in this part. And so same would be something like similar would be for withdraw. I know I can give all, I can maybe give an option to withdraw the money as well. So we have deposited, we can also have withdraw. So I can come up here, I can say something like void withdraw. Okay. Now since obviously if we are withdrawing it, it has to be an amount which we withdraw. So I'll take the same thing, I'll say int amount. Now in here maybe you can have the same condition. So if we are withdrawing, right, the amount that we are withdrawing, if it is greater than the money that we have, obviously we cannot withdraw it. Let's suppose I have 100 rupees in my account, but I'm trying to withdraw 120. I cannot do that, right? That means it's a edge case. So I can just have a condition first. I can say that if the amount which I'm withdrawing, if it is greater than my balance, right? Maybe I can say insufficient balance or something of that sort. I can say C out, I can say less balance, right? Now what if I want to withdraw negative amount, or I want to withdraw zero amount? That is also an edge case, right? Maybe I'm playing with the bank, I'm saying I want to withdraw I'm saying I want to withdraw 0 rupees. Obviously I cannot do that, right? So I can say else if, I can say if the amount is equal to or is less than 0, right? Both the conditions get here. I can say C out something like invalid withdrawal request or invalid withdrawal amount. I can say invalid withdraw request, right? And maybe I can also print endl here, and maybe also print endl here, right? So if the amount is less than or equal to 0, I print C out invalid withdraw request, and I just give endl so that it moves to the next line. Now if it is not, then means it is a genuine request. So I come to else. If I'm withdrawing, so I, whatever my present balance is, right, from this balance I need to subtract the amount which I'm withdrawing. I say balance equals to, just like here we did balance equal to balance plus amount if we are depositing. In this case it would be balance equal to balance minus amount. For example, my present balance is 100, I want to withdraw 20. So my balance would be balance which is 100 minus the amount which is 20. So my balance would now become 80 in this case, right? And if kind of this is the case, I can do something like C out withdrawn the amount. Basically whatever amount we are withdrawing, I can just say withdrawn the amount, and I can just kind of say endl to it, as simple as that. So yes, this was the withdrawn request. And apart from this, we could also have a function to show all this information, right? So we can say something like, because at the end of the day, if I want to show some information, like what is the account holder name, what is the current balance, I can make a function. I can say, let's suppose show balance, and here I can simply, if not nothing, if not much, I can simply say C out the account holder name, which is actually this name. So I can just say account holder, which is nothing but the name which is there in the class, and I will press enter. Similarly, I'll also print what do you call the current balance, which is actually this balance. So let's suppose he has done some transaction, he has deposited money, he has withdrawn some money. So the current balance, I can show it. Let's suppose here I can say balance, and I can say balance. So as simple as that, right? So this is what the show balance would kind of do. It will show me the name, which is the account holder name, and the balance, which is this balance, right? So this is all about a class, a blueprint. Now here is the interesting part: to consume the class, to make an object out of the class. So I will come here. I hope we all know how do we make the object, right? So it is pretty much simple, just like we have done it. So first of all, I'll ask the user, maybe, yeah, I can ask the user to maybe enter their name if you want to store something to it. So I can say something like string name, right? And this name obviously would kind of come from the user, and I can say int balance, right? Okay, so now since this is there, maybe I can say cout enter your name. So the user will enter his or her name, and once he does that, I'll take in the name in the I would say in the name which we have created. Similarly, the next thing would be the amount. So I can say something called as cout enter initial balance, and I will cl balance. So we have got the name, and we have got the balance. Now this balance, right, this balance will come up to my here, this here, which is this constructor. So basically I'm creating a bank account by this name and this balance, right? So I'll send it this name to this bank account. So I can say something like uh, again, maybe I'll just copy the name, uh, this one. Yeah, bank account, and okay, so now I can create an object of this class. So I'll say bank account. Maybe I'll call this ACC, which is nothing but account name, right? I can say here something called as customer name, and one was the balance. I can say initial uh, balance. So customer name, maybe I'll make this capital. Yeah, initial name and the current balance, right? So that means all this information, which is the name and the balance, gets here, and we have successfully created one account. Okay, so now once this is done, now I will give the users the choice what they want to do, whether they want to deposit, whether they want to withdraw, or they just want to show the balance. So I can say something like int choice, and int, maybe I can say amount. Yeah, so now what I can do is, first of all, so it has to be a loop, right? What we can do is, because if we are running a class, I'm thinking of using a do while loop here, because we need to at least run it once. If let's suppose I come to the bank, so I'm coming with a purpose, right? I either want to display or withdraw or show my balance. So at least, so this means that at least my loop will run once. So what is the best loop to use? Okay, so we have the choice and we have the amount. Now, as I told you, if I want to implement it, run the loop at least once, I can use a do while loop. So I'll say do. First of all, print out the options to the user. I'll say see out. Maybe I can say something like uh, bank menu. Maybe we'll just tell the user if you want to, if you're coming here, you want to withdraw, deposit, or display. Right now, after this, I will give users an option. So what I'm doing is, so see, I can just say see out. Now, options, right? So I can say option number one, if you are coming here for deposit, right? You can do that. Maybe I'll give option two. Maybe you're coming here to withdraw. I can say withdraw. Option three, maybe you are coming here to show the balance. I can say show balance. And option four, maybe you want to go back or exit the form. You can exit, something of that sort. Now, here is the interesting part. Now, once I've given this option to the user, now I will tell that please enter your choice. So I can say something like enter your choice. Now, once the users have given their choice, I'll store it. So I'll say cn choice. Yes. Okay. Cn choice. Now, once I have the choice, I can use if else, or better than that is switch. I can use a switch statement. So I can just say maybe switch based on the choice which the user is making, choice. So I can say case, if the user is entering 1, right? I can say cout, that means print, that means that he's coming to deposit. So I can say enter the amount to deposit. Enter the amount to deposit. And once he or she has entered the amount, I can ask to give me the amount. So I can say cn amount, right? And once he has done it, so I can just use this class name, which is this object name, which is acc. I can say acc dot deposit and deposit the amount, which is this amount. So basically, if I do acc dot deposit, so I'll come to the class, I'll come here to the deposit. This is the amount, and it will get accumulated. It will get accumulated to my balance, and I'll show the amount deposited. So this is what it is. Yeah. So apart from this, we know that we have to now break it. So I can just say break. Similarly, I can have cases, more than one case. So case 2 would be, case 2 would be something like I'll see out, enter the amount to withdraw, because I am withdrawing the amount at the end of the day. So enter the amount to withdraw. I'll add a semicolon. Yeah. Now once I have done that, I'll ask the user to give me the amount. The user has given me the amount. Now I can say something called as, I can call the withdraw method, and I can send in the amount here. and I can break. So if I call this acc.withdraw, that means I'll go to my class withdraw, which is this will be called, and I'll show my balance. Okay, so this is also done. So we have case 1, case 2, case 3 was to just show the balance. This would be pretty simple. I can just write case 3, and I'll just call show balance. So we already have a function, void function. Remember, we made a void function. You can just simply call show balance. I can maybe just verify the name. Show balance is here. Yeah. Yeah, account.show balance, and I will break. Cool. And lastly would be nothing but just to exit. So case 4, if I want to exit, I can maybe just give a thank you note, or I can maybe just say thank you for banking with us. As simple as that. And yeah, I can maybe give endl. Yeah, so I can just do that, endl. And apart from this, yeah, case 4. So this loop will run until I've not pressed 4. So case 4 means that I need to now exit from my do while. So I can mention here, yeah, while choice is not equal to 4, run this loop. And if my choice becomes 4, then you exit the loop. As simple as that. So I hope this makes sense. And yeah, so if we have anything else, I mean, if we have any errors or any bugs, we'll see how can we resolve those bugs. But yeah, this should be okay. Okay, so now I'll click on run. Okay, we have error. Okay, class declaration does not have this. Okay, so my bad. We have to always end the class declaration with this colon. Okay, customer name was not declared. Okay, let us see. Let us maybe run it again. Okay, so we have from line number 281. Let's see what is that. Maybe some spelling mistake. Customer name and initial balance. So it says that customer name was not declared in the scope. Okay, and we have got is a private. Okay. Okay, so there's a spelling mistake here, right? So here we have declared name and balance, but we are using customer name and initial balance. So I'll just replace it with the customer name, and this will initial balance, right? So just make sure to use the same names. Don't get confused with the names like I did, right? So this should be fine, and this should be good to go. Or maybe what, since I've already okay, maybe let me use customer name and initial balance. Okay, now let me run it again. Okay, it says that it is a private. Oh, I think we forgot to mention public here. That's why it is coming. Yeah, so make sure to always make it public, because again, it is, if not, it will not be able to access the value and will give the error. So yeah, say public. Let us see next. Okay, so return 0. Maybe there is some issue with the placement of the while loop. So here it is. Okay, so see, while will come here once the switch ends somewhere here. Yeah. Okay, yeah, see, now it says enter your name. So I enter my name as Ritik. Initial balance, let's suppose 1000. Now bank menu, let's suppose I have come to the bank and I want to deposit. I say 1. It says enter the amount to deposit. I want to deposit 500. Deposit 500. Good to go. Now I can show the balance. Now my balance is, so account holder is Ritik and my balance is 1500. Let's suppose I come to the bank again, I want to withdraw. I press 2. I want to withdraw 200. I come here and it says withdrawn 200. Now if I come here, show my balance, it says that it has been 1300. See, initially it was 1000. I deposited, it became 1500. I took 200, it became 1300. So yeah, I think that is working perfectly fine. If at the end of the day I want to exit, I can say 4. It says thank you for banking with us, right? So this was all in how we can use classes, we can use objects to make your account application. So just see, maybe try to recap, or maybe just code it along if you want to, just to get a good reference over it, and I believe it should be good to go. With that being said, thank you so much.